Part 2.
Okay, back to the sizing parameters. This will be the position where the ram stops sizing the blade. This is the sizing increment. Every time it moves forward this amount. We normally use 1/10. It waits this long, this is in seconds, before it moves again. If you're using a retract well at a retract distance, it moves forward, sizes the blade, moves backwards this amount, waits this long, and goes back into the next sizing increment. Jog all axes, fairly self-explanatory. You can jog any of the 3 axes from this screen, plus and minus directions as you see fit, and you can also reset the ram position. These indicators down here are just that, indicators. They're not buttons. It tells you when you've run over a limit switch. I/O screens. There's 3 of them. The manual screen that you see now, which allows you to open and close things, turn things on and off. For instance, the fault light. Let's see if it works. So if we turn that on, we can turn it off. It's for testing parts of the machine. I can extend grippers. I can retract support grippers. Let's see. Support gripper number 1B. Start. It closes. Stop. It opens. Stop 1A. And retract 1. Okay, the rest is very self-explanatory on what they do. The second I/O page is a visual page. It's for the loader system. Okay, we can operate the same thing by touching that particular function. For instance, the small gripper, the secondary gripper. Okay, and anything that's on the machine itself. If you watch the dump trays. Okay, and we can run the motor. It's to operate all the systems on that. The last one would be if you have a spool feeder system on your machine, which none of the Asahi machines do. You can operate the various units on the spooler or the unspooler, as the case may be. Back to the main diagnostic page. There's all the loaded programs, whether they're running or not. If they're red, they're stopped. And they're stopped on a certain line number for a reason. May not necessarily be a problem, but if you have a problem with the machine, before you attempt to call any of the technicians, write down the program that's not running and the line number that it's stuck on so they can diagnose the problem. That's a status screen, tell you if any of the axes are faulted or enabled. For instance, it's now disabled. This is for the dresser, the 3 axes for the dresser. Again, starts them up. Okay. Same with the ram, the linear, and the collet assembly for the Gen X part of the machine. If there's a problem with the machine and you can't seem to get it corrected, you halt all programs, start program number 0. It resets everything. And hopefully, if there's not a physical problem with the machine, it'll restart everything for you. Their status screen is basically a message screen. Okay, if you have an alarm, it'll tell you what the alarm is, what it's being generated from. Okay. The loader screen. All the parameters to operate the loader. The gripper unload position, that's the location of the unload gripper, which is the rubber one on number 3 unit, right here. Wire load position, how far the linear comes back to load a wire from the loader. The feeder unload position, if you're going to use the feeder to unload wires, let's say we grind 1 long wire, and we only grind a small amount of it, we can't unload it to the far side because the unload is too short. So we can unload it back here into the tray. What will happen, it'll come back to this position. The collet will open, the capstans will close, pull the wire back into the tray, and then dump it into the silver dump tray here. the speed at which it goes to the unload position. You can vary it as you see fit. Okay. Wire unload time, that's how long the capstan will run. Okay, be closed and run to unload the wire. You increase the time just enough so you get the wire out, but you don't sit there running it for an extra 2 minutes. The machine's not going to do anything for you. Fine velocity approach to the eye, there's 2 reference eyes. It goes fast to the first one, then it slows down and finds the second eye, gives it a little bit more accuracy. The collet RPM speed is for loading a wire. The collet spins so that the wire can get pushed through and not get stuck on any edges. The indexing eye distance is the distance from the indexing eye to where you want the wire to stop underneath the index gripper. You can use this number to adjust the length of the beginning of the wire. And the indexing eye to grinding wheel distance is mainly for the graphics. Okay? But it's the distance from the indexing eye to the starting edge of the work wheel. Wire feed time after sensor. When you're loading a wire, there is a wire sensor located on this gripper, on this support arm, which it extends out and it waits for the wire to come through the tube, out through the collet, and once this eye sees it, it stops feeding the wire. Okay? If you put a time on here, it's going to load for that amount of time after it sees the wire, which usually makes a small wire, instead of being 75 millimeters long, it's going to come out and be 150 millimeters long, and it won't be able to get into the indexing eye funnel. Pinch roller unload velocity, that's how fast it tries to pull the wire back out of the machine and put it in the dump tray. The unload gripper enabled or disabled, okay, when you do multiple wires on one length of rod, you're going to have some left over. The head backs up to that first rubber-coated gripper. The gripper comes out, closes on the wire, the collet opens, and the collet then runs back, basically pulling the wire out of the collet. It retracts and drops in the tray on the far side. Okay, if you're not using that unload system, for instance, you're doing a long wire with a short grind, you're going to use the V-drop unload. That makes it unload back through the feeder. Now this particular wire we're doing, the length of wire we're grinding is relatively short. And we do multiple wires on a length of rod. So we unload to the far side of the machine. And then use the unload gripper to get rid of the little cutoff. You're going to use one of two modes, either manual or full automatic. Full automatic, you'll have an extra button that shows up here. That's to load a new wire. Okay? It'll come back, unload the old one, and load a new one. This is the amount of parts you're going to get off one wire. Okay? It's settable. This is the counter. Okay, to count how many cycles have been run on that wire before the unload system takes over. Okay, back to the main. Loader, counters and auto comps. Cycle counter. Counts up or down, it's your choice. When the machine reaches the preset amount, it stops grinding wire. Gauge count. When you want to check the wire, say after every 10th wire, the machine will grind 10 and stop. Then you have to separate that wire and gauge it or check it, inspect it, whatever you're going to do with it. And at that point, the counter will reset itself. There will be an error, there will be a message up on the main screen saying, acknowledge gauging by pressing here. That acknowledges the fact you've gauged the wire. It'll reset the counter and allow you to restart the machine and go back into cycle. Auto comp. Once you have the machine set up, if you know that after, say, 20 pieces, you have to comp in 50 millionths to maintain size, you can set it so every so many pieces, the machine will automatically comp the amount that you set here. So once the counter reaches 20 pieces, it will comp in 50 millions. CNC dresser page. This is the main cycle page. But first you're going to use the setup page, CNC setup. You're going to do the same on the dresser page that you did on the grind page. You'll define the wheel profile. You select the profile that you want to dress into the wheel, or that's already been dressed into the wheel, and you download it to the machine. That will set the dresser in the appropriate increment system that you're using. Again, you exit here. You touch off your diamond to your work wheel using your choice of systems, either the lowest, what's going to be the lowest point in the wheel, and use the lowest point in the wheel number, or the highest point in the wheel, which we normally set at 0, okay, and we set the position to 0 after we touch the diamond physically by hand to the wheel. The same holds true with the Z-axis. If you're dressing from the exit side to the entrance side, 0 is going to be on the exit side of the wheel, and all your numbers are going to be minus numbers. If you're dressing from the operator side, you're going to set your 0 on the operator side, and all your dress numbers are going to be in the positive direction. The machine is also capable of auto dress, okay, which has to be added into the recipe. There's information that has to be in the recipe that after so many parts, the machine will stop grinding parts, dress a certain amount off the wheel, okay, and then restart the cycle again after it automatically compensates itself the amount that you set up in the system. Let's say we dress 10 microns off the wheel. We enter 10 microns here. As soon as it finishes dressing the wheel, it will comp in 10 microns and continue to grind parts. Okay, these numbers are for how many dress cycles you want it to do, how many passes on the wheel, how deep each pass is going to be, and this is the running count of how many circuits it's done already. You'll find the same information on the CNC dress page. Once you have all your basic data set up, you come to this side, and again you see the dress count, and this tells you what segment it is in the recipe. Okay, these are the jog controls. You can turn the axes off by pressing the buttons. And again, you can turn them on by pressing the same buttons. Then you can jog the respective axes either in towards the wheel or out away from the wheel, towards the exit side of the machine or towards the operator side of the machine at that velocity for that axis. So we have 10,000 set on X, we have 100,000 set on Z. The RPM in case you want to run the disc manually, right now the diamond disc is spinning at 500 RPM in the wrong direction. You press the button again, it will stop. Once you have all your basic parameters and everything set up, simply press cycle start and it will begin dressing the wheel. The amount that you put in, how many times you put it, and how deep each pass is going to be. That brings us back to the main menu. These particular menu selections are the same as the ones on this page. That's the quick and down and dirty part of the whole thing. The only other button that you'll see here is a retract button, which is very similar to the quick release, except that quick release will stop the coolant, stop the work wheel, and move the ram away from the work wheel. The retract button will only move the ram away from the work wheel, will not disturb any other settings that you have in the machine. That's it. That's all the screens on the machine.